starting off with a Husky air hammer. This immediately did not work, so I had a half a day. Next day I came back with this bad boy. Now it's time to tear this tile up. So I'm just getting the hang of it, hitting it in the right spots, and trying to get it up. If you saw my last video for the demo, the tile came off with that Husky air hammer easily because the installer didn't know what they were doing. But as you can see here, this installer knew exactly what he was doing. So this is how the tile is supposed to be installed, and now it's time for me to get on and work. Right, let's make it sweat. At the end, just a little bit of thin set left.
After removing as much as the old thin set as possible, we patch the floor where it's needed. Then we can start the tile. We are going to install these 12-inch by 24-inch large format tiles. I will be using a half-inch trowel with large format tile thin set. Leveling system is for 1/16 of an inch. When you start the tile, make sure to pre-soak the floor before applying the thin set. You do this so the dry ground does not soak up the moisture in the thin set faster than specified. Before you set the tile, make sure to back butter the tile. This will help you get full coverage. Always make sure to have 2 levels. A torpedo level and 2-foot level. You want to always check the level of the tile. This is a very important step to ensure awesome results. After the floor is laid down, read manufacturer's instructions on cure time for the thin set before applying grout. Start off with a good amount of grout and use a 45-degree angle to float the grout. Make sure to really pack in the grout between the tiles. There are a few ways to minimize cleanup when it comes to grout glaze. You can use a glaze remover and other sealants. I like to just wet the tile before I grout with water, and a sponge it helps out a lot with grout glaze. Not too much water, just enough to get a shine. Once you make a few passes with the grout mix, use a 90-degree angle to remove the excess grout. Make sure to never run the float parallel to the space between the tiles. It will cause a groove between your tiles. You don't want that. After it is dry, dirt and debris will get caught in the grout line. At this point, you should have the hang of it and know the float and how it performs. This job took me until I was halfway done with the floor to get in the groove. Remember never to mix more grout than you can handle. Read manufacturer's instruction always. If you can get help, you should. Another tip to have a better experience with grouting. Do not have any fans on or air. You want it to be a little moisture in the air. You do not want the grout to dry up fast. It will make the grout clean up on the tiles harder, especially if you have textured tiles. This is where the extra hand would be helpful. At this point, if you want, you can check the first section of grout to see how it's curing. Always be aware of the dry time. If you can set a timer per manufacturer's instructions, do it. You can never be too cautious. This is the final touches to the floor. It's very important. Now, as you can see, I got into the flow and started building confidence. Next, I will get a bucket of clean water and a sponge and start gently removing the excess grout. Make sure not to remove too much grout at once. Be kind to the grout. When you wet the sponge, make sure to wring it out all the way. You don't want much water buildup. Another tip is to always keep your sponge flat while wiping. Also, don't be shy and use that water to clean that sponge. It makes it easier. Wait a few hours before using a fiber or terry cloth to remove the little bit of grout haze left over. I usually rinse the sponge after one pass back and forth. Keep an eye on using too much water. Wringing the sponge that much will make your forearm sore, so good luck. Unless you have one of those fancy sponge wringer. Once you finish with the first wipe down, it should look something like this. If you got this far, thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe for more content like this.